Welcome to the Pulse with Peter B. I'm your host, Peter Biancavano. Let's get you to the pulse on everything you need to know. And today's show is brought to you by the Hudson County Property Rights Coalition. And we are here at the beautiful Pilsener Haus Biergarten, located at 1422 Grand Street. And I am going to send it out to Daria Peace, who is going to be trying some new dishes, maybe even some old dishes, with a member of their staff. Daria, take it away.
Thanks, Peter. I'm Daria Peace, back for another episode where I am taking Peter's job as hosting this segment of The Pulse with Peter Biancavano, or The Pulse with Daria Peace. I don't know which one sounds better. I am so excited to be back at the Pilsener Haus, and today I am joined by Mike, the head chef at the Pilsener Haus Biergarten.
Yes, sir. How's everybody doing today?
So excited to be here, and I'm even more excited that one, we have beer in front of us.
We do.
Step one, that you so graciously poured. And two, that we have this insanely amazing looking food in front of us. So is this some of the new summer menu? I know that you guys have a little bit of a seasonal menu where you switch items in and out, use different ingredients.
Yeah, this is going to be some new things on our summer menu. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. You want me to explain
Let's walk
a little
down.
bit?
Let's see what
Sure.
we have. First we have
So
here.
first we have a burrata cheese.
Okay.
It's fresh mozzarella with a little cream in the center.
Okay.
A nice crispy flatbread, fresh arugula, cherry tomato, house-made basil pesto, and a little aged balsamic.
If you could smell the pesto on here, oh my goodness. All right, I'm gonna dive right in. I'm not even gonna use a fork,
dive
and I'm
right
gonna
in. Get right in there.
I
Yeah,
might need a little bit of support on
super
this one.
creamy,
Yep.
super rich.
Definitely want all of the pesto and balsamic on here. Maybe we'll throw a tomato on after.
Get in there. Get in there. Probably taste it.
First of all, the creaminess and the richness of the burrata mixed with the flavors of the pesto and the balsamic, 20 out of 10. And then this is nice too. This is a crispy, like buttery. You taste the olive oil a little bit. The olive oil on here?
Yeah, just simple oil and toasted flatbread. It's the same flatbread we use for our other pizzas in house, but yeah, just simply done.
Phenomenal. I'm actually gonna go in for another scoop. Sorry, I double dip a little bit. Okay. So good. All right. Where to next? Should we try these wings?
Yeah. We're gonna do the wings.
Which one? So, you know what? Let me guess what these taste like, because we have two different options in front of us, and there's no game I like playing more than let's try and guess what it is.
Guess what it is?
If anyone remembers, when me and Krista blind taste tested wings and beer before, so let's try again. All right. Dip in some blue cheese.
What do you think?
So how many different wing variations do you guys have on the menu?
I believe we have almost 6. We do dry rub, teriyaki, sweet chili, barbecue, buffalo, and an atomic wing, which is a super spicy dry rub.
And what do we have here?
This is teriyaki.
Teriyaki? Wow. So delicious. Light, but got some meaty wings over here.
Yeah, definitely the jumbo party wings.
These are fantastic. Okay.
For sure.
All right. I know everybody, this is catching everybody's eye. What the heck is this thing in front of us? All right. How do we explain
So here
this?
we have a confit pork leg, almost like a ossobuco. It's been confit in oil for the last 5 hours.
Okay.
Some fresh garlic, thyme, bay leaf. I gave it a nice hard sear, let it soak in its own fat for a few hours. Super tender.
How would one go about eating this?
Yeah, so pretty much it's super tender. It should fall right off
Let's get on this side so they can see that. This is literally just fall off the bone meat. For anybody at home who wants to see, this just comes right off the bone.
Yeah.
And here I thought that they were setting me up yet again to look like the messiest, craziest person eating on camera.
Right, no. And then we crisp it up outside. We have some red sour cabbage.
Should we eat the meat and the cabbage together?
Yeah, definitely
Let's do
eat the cabbage together. It's fantastic.
Cheers.
Cheers, indeed. Tender.
Oh my God, it's so tender. It's like melt in your mouth. And the flavor is so rich and delicious. And then you pair it with like the crisp coolness and kind of sweetness of this.
For sure.
Oh my God. All right,
enjoy
another
it.
bite, another bite.
Get in there.
What inspired you to make a dish like this?
Just the, I love braising meat, and we do a version of this for our Oktoberfest. It sells very well, and just trying to drum some business in the summer. Everyone's down at the shore, trying to keep a few people in town in Hoboken.
But this is a hearty meal right here.
Yeah, for sure.
This will coat the ribs with a nice beer, and I'll be ready for the day.
It's a good plate to share.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And good to know that you can, as we always say, Peter always asks me, do you come here on a date? I would come here on a date and eat this, because when you first see this, it might be a little intimidating. Don't be intimidated. This is 20 out of 10. All right. I'm going to cleanse my palate with a pickle.
Yeah, this is some more wings.
Okay, cool. So then what do we have next coming up? We have another wings. This, I'm going to guess, is the sweet chili. I see a little spice on this one.
Yeah, these are sweet chili wings.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
All right.
A little spice.
Looks like it's perfectly coated. Another set of jumbo wings on our hands.
Mm.
All right.
It's all you. Yeah. We use the good sweet chili sauce here, the moi poi. It's the Asian stuff. Very tasty.
And it has like the perfect amount of kick to it too.
Right.
Not too spicy, not too sweet, but it gives the perfect amount of flavor and perfect amount of balance, I think, in these wings.
Sure.
What's your favorite wing that you guys have on the menu?
Definitely the sweet chili.
Yeah?
Yeah, for sure.
Might be my favorite too.
For sure.
So, knowing that you guys have all this going on here, all the different flavors, the different menu items that you guys constantly are changing on the menu, what else do you guys have going on at the beer garden that would draw people to come during the summer, even more so than just to drink the beer and have some of the great food and sit in this amazing ambiance? Here we are sitting outside in the front patio. I mean, you guys have one of the largest spaces, in my opinion, in Hoboken.
Right.
So what else? What is one more reason to get everyone in the door?
Well, as you see out here, you can't see on camera. We used to do movies outside. So we're trying to get our projectors working again to show UFC fights, maybe some movies outside on the patio. February, July 18th, we're going to do a puppy party. So that's pretty much, all the locals are welcome to bring their dogs. We have about 15 to 20 different vendors that come in.
All relating to dogs.
All relating to dogs.
Okay.
We have, they sell all kinds of doggy stuff. We have doggy brew. We have also treats for the doggies.
Wait. Doggy brew.
Yeah, we have beer for dogs.
I need to get Matt to bring rigatoni here ASAP so we doggy brew. What even is that?
We did it a few weeks ago. It was a huge success.
A lot of
big
wasted
hit,
puppies.
Yeah, big hit.
Okay, cool. You said there's treats and everything
we also
like that.
We also do live music on the weekends.
Okay.
We're trying to do all kinds of things, just to bring some people in, some outdoor events, do some barbecues.
Love that.
All the sporting stuff, World Cup coming up. We do
and during the
Subway
week
Series
and weekends?
Yep.
Cool. So it seems like any day of the week there's something for people to come and enjoy.
Yeah,
here.
we do trivia on Tuesday nights.
Okay.
So that's fun. That brings some people out. And like I said, some music on the weekends. Any sporting events we try to show the games.
Awesome.
Free of charge.
Okay, well, I know that where my next date night and girls' night out is going to be. My date with my puppy is also going to be on July 18th here at the beer garden.
Yeah, come on, we'll save you a space.
Yeah, definitely. Well, thank you so much for everything and for making all of this absolutely amazing food.
Sure.
I know I am 100% coming back here, bringing everybody that I can to share this and all of this amazing food with me. And thank you. We'll be right back.
Thank you.
Welcome to Hudson River Care and Counseling. Hello, I'm Dr. Pam Pater-Ennis, the CEO and founder of Hudson River Care and Counseling with over 30 years of clinical social work experience in therapy. We are a progressive counseling and coaching practice with a diverse team that brings a holistic approach to clients. We offer support both in person and through digital platforms such as telehealth. Consider us a safe haven that you can trust with care for your mental health needs. Visit our website to set up a consultation today.
Peter Biancamano, your hostess with the mostest of the Pulse with Peter B. Folks, don't forget to go on our Facebook and our Instagram pages by searching The Pulse with Peter B. and like and follow us on each of those platforms. We're constantly updating those pages with previews of each week's segments and cool stories. Also, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to our email address at thepulsewithpeterb@gmail.com.
Welcome back to the Pulse with Peter B. It's Ron Simoncini sitting in the guest host chair today. And I suppose I've been on enough talking about rent control and property rights issues over the last several months that I do belong in some hosting capacity here on the show. With me today is Joe Covello, founder and president of Liberty Realty, which is the largest real estate agency here in Hoboken and all of Hudson County. And for 20 years, Joe and I have been opposing rent control in Hoboken. And I guess neither of us have seen anything like this.
No.
How did you find out about this most recent attempt to deprive people of their property?
You know, Ron, I was on vacation and I had just gotten back the next day at the office, and I saw about 40 phone calls from, mostly small landlords. And when I called them back, they all were stating that within a day or two, they were starting to vote on different rent control laws that really didn't make sense. So I immediately gave you a call.
Yeah, well, so Mile Square Taxpayers Association, which is a member of the Hudson County Property Rights Coalition, was active in Hoboken from about 2002 to about 2014. And I felt like we got it right at that point. We had struck a balance where landlords weren't threatened and they weren't taking their property away and having all these crazy rollbacks of rent, and tenants had protections that I thought were reasonable. Yes. Why do you think this started up this time?
I think it's more market conditions. I think there was a time when, really the landlords didn't get any increases at all. It's probably been about 5 or 6 years where CPI was so low, there was no inflation. And so everything was kind of kept status quo and there wasn't any real issues. Then we went through the 2 years of the pandemic, and a lot of the landlords really suffered. I mean, vacant apartments, no one paying their rent, but they still had to pay their mortgage and they still had to pay their water and sewage and taxes, and no one really called them to help them. Well, we stepped in.
I think quite the opposite.
Right.
There was an eviction moratorium that made it very difficult to get people who were bad actors to pay their rent.
That's right.
There were rent freezes up and down the county. And, I think we played pretty nice during that time. We recognized that there were issues that we had to see how they were going to work out. We expected people to help us out later on. There was some rental assistance programming that did come back to the landlords. But to have gone through the pandemic, suffered through it, kept the properties going, and then after the pandemic happens, what do they do to you?
Yeah, the poor landlords, and people don't say, well, they're poor landlords, this and that, they're all rich. No, a lot of these landlords, especially in the 15 to 20% of that we're talking about, the smaller landlords, they're the only ones really under rent control. And it was very hard for them to pay the mortgage, pay the water and sewer, pay the taxes, especially without tenants being there. So we helped them. We did about 180 rentals a month, got people to finally start renting. They had to give a free month. They had to pay the commission in some of the cases. And so they suffered through it after about 2.5 to 3 years. And a lot of them didn't even raise the rent on the people that were there because they knew that they were having a tough time with the pandemic. Now, as soon as we get out of the pandemic, instead of assistance going to the landlords and thanking them for their 3 years of suffering in helping the tenants, they immediately said, well, now the CPI is going up to 7%, so we now have to protect these tenants, so we're going to lower you down to 4%.
So previously, the thought was that as CPI goes up, landlords should increase their rents by about that to keep even with the marketplace and their expenses. CPI over the last 22 years has never been more than 3%.
That's right.
Now, the policies of these administrations have driven costs up so much with such a great supply of money that the costs have gone out of control. And you made the point the other night, I'll paraphrase, that it may not seem like much to raise somebody, to ask somebody, don't raise your rent 7.5%, raise it 4%. But if you do that 100 times on a $1,500 rent, you know what you've done? You just fired the maintenance guy. And that's not what anybody wants. That doesn't help anybody. And I think, the rant portion of the program just started, which is to say, this is exactly like the oil issue we have right now. They decided they didn't want oil anymore, that they wanted electric vehicles. And so they said they discouraged everybody from creating any oil supply. Well, of course, what happens? When there's no supply, prices go up. And that's exactly what happens in this Hoboken rent control situation. The tighter they make landlords who own these rent control properties, the more those properties get.
Yeah, they go not only into disrepair, but there's none available because they start finding other ways to rent them.
They convert them
into condos. A lot of the people are converting them into condos. A lot of the people are just doing B&B or the Airbnb. Some people are just only renting them to friends.
So you're driving supply out of the marketplace. And I think when we first started together, there were maybe 11,000 rent-controlled units in Hoboken. Yeah. No one's done a census. In fact, at a council meeting the other night, the council was asking the landlords how many rent-controlled apartments there were. How is it you've had rent control for 50 years in this town, and you don't know how many rent-controlled apartments there are? Right. Asking us what the average price is. You don't know what the average price is? It's preposterous. And then you pass a law based on not knowing anything. And you just decide, well, the better thing to do for us is to constrict supply further.
Well, what they were facing was a lot of people. See, with the larger landlords, they're not under rent control in a lot of cases, so they went down $500 a month during the pandemic. Well, now that the pandemic was over, people were starting to come back. They wanted to go back to the 500 again. Well, they've heard from so many of those renters that they're going up 500. Well, the smaller landlords couldn't do that because they're under rent control. So they're not raising it nearly that much, maybe just 7%. And that's the ones that they're coming after. So what we're explaining to them is it may be something to create more housing for middle and low income. Don't just go after the 10 or 15% of the landlords that fall under rent control to create all of the housing.
In fact, not create anymore, but reduce the supply of it. And the other issue here that nobody really talks about is the fact that these units that become available on the market whose rents are so depressed, and we heard a bunch of owners say they had rents at $600 and $700 and $800 a month, less than the carrying costs for the unit, less than it costs to maintain the unit, but they're forced to keep it at that price by the law. Those apartments, when they become vacant, they do not go to people who have low incomes.
That's right.
They go to people coming across the river from New York City who are looking for a bargain. And if those people don't look like they can afford an apartment in a high-rise building or a non-rent control building, they come to these buildings and they get them at a discount.
Well, a lot of the people that'll come in are making $100,000 to $200,000, and they're looking to rent that $850 apartment.
And they'll put, by the way, we heard a story the other night, they'll put $30,000 of their own money into upgrading an apartment that the landlord can't possibly put $30,000 in because he can't raise the rent enough to justify it.
And then that's when I get a call from the landlord saying, Joe, please set me up with an attorney in town who will convert them to condos. Now, once they convert them to condos, they're just going to live there. They can't even then rent them down the road because in a lot of cases, those are still under rent control, even though they're just really one families. So then they say, Joe, what can I get for rent? Well, I know you paid $600,000, but you can only get $850. So then they just sell it to someone who will seek to occupy it again. So it never comes on to help the people they're trying to help.
Right. They just need to create supply to do that. The private market isn't going to do that for them. So in closing, we feel a little empathy toward the people who proposed this because they certainly got a big backlash from it. Right. And I don't think they really understood what the impacts of what they proposed were going to be.
And I think that they are trying to help people.
I do too.
They have a good thought.
But they have to take one class in supply and demand and its effect on price.
Right.
Because we have to really respond to what's in the marketplace, not what we imagine the marketplace should be.
Yeah.
Listen, we really appreciate your attention, and I know these wonky politics around property rights probably get boring at some point, but they mean something because everybody in Hoboken's quality of life and the taxation on their units is going to depend on this. If you're a condo owner and there's a reduction in rental in Hoboken, that's a reduction in the property taxes that those apartments pay. Guess who picks that up? The single-family homeowner and the condo owner. So don't think just because you're not in a rent-controlled apartment that this doesn't apply to you. I got to get it back to Peter B. Peter, appreciate being on again, and we hope to see you soon.
Peter Biancamano back with you. Don't forget to watch us on cable access every Sunday and Monday at 9 a.m. Optimum Channel 18, Files Channel 46, and Comcast Channel 190. Also on Sunday mornings at 9:30 a.m., you can watch our show on our YouTube channel, and you can also binge watch all of our old shows. Who doesn't want to keep watching The Pulse with Peter B? We'll see you there. Welcome back to the Pulse of Peter B. We want to thank Ron Simoncini and Joe Covello for the last segment. They weren't too far away from here. They were over at Maxwell Place Beer, enlightening us, as always, about rent control in Hoboken, which is always on knockout fights. And speaking of knockout fights, we have a person that needs absolutely no introduction, but hasn't been on the show for, I would say, it's got to be over a year now.
Been a while, about a year and a half, I think.
Oh, my God, a year and a half, and not because we don't like him, because I love him, but he's just busy traveling all over the place. And that is, of course, the Pulse MMA Insider and Mr. Cody Merrow. He's also the executive producer of the Anik and Florian podcast. Cody, welcome back.
Peter, glad to be back. There's a lot of exciting stuff to talk about in the fight world, and I'm just excited to be here.
Exactly, and he's getting me all juiced up as well. I love it. Let's talk about, this guy's like an international man of mystery. He was traveling just these past few days out in Las Vegas for International Fight Week. You want to give us a little bit of a recap about that?
Yeah, so Peter, I'll give you kind of the skinny on International Fight Week. For a man that's not looking very skinny, Peter B has been in the gym, guys.
Oh, look at that. And that's not getting fat. He's talking buff.
So last week was in town for Las Vegas, International Fight Week. It was just incredible to see all the fans out. As you know, we've kind of been in a pandemic for the last 2 years. So
is that still going on, Cody?
Not in Las Vegas, it's not. That's for sure. Because I was there, and guys, there was tons of people. We're talking 20, 30,000 people there just for the expo, just for the events, not even for the pay-per-view that went down on Saturday night. Thursday, there was the Hall of Fame ceremony. Daniel Cormier, Khabib Nurmagomedov both got inducted. Teammates, two of the legends of the sport. Just
well-deserved?
Absolutely well-deserved.
Gotcha.
I mean, those are guys that you probably understand, even though you're not a big MMA guy. So
that's why you're here.
That's why I'm here. But it was just absolutely fantastic to see these guys honored and to see all of the fans revere them. I mean, two of the most respected guys in the sport. It was great to see them on Thursday night get inducted into that Hall of Fame.
That's fantastic. And it was more than that, correct? I mean, there was a card, from what I understand, UFC 276, if I'm not mistaken?
Correct.
Yeah.
After the Friday's Expo, where there were tons of fans turning out, we were there doing an 8-hour live stream, kind of similar to this. Saturday, an incredible night of pay-per-views. It was headlined by Adesanya and Cannonier. Unfortunately, a bit of a snoozer, which was pointed out by Chris Pratt of Marvel fame, which then he had to eat crow about when Israel Adesanya called him out on that. So, these athletes, they're accessible, but sometimes you got to watch out what you're saying to these fellas on the internet.
Oh, my goodness. I can imagine. I mean, Cody's definitely has the toughest job in sports. I don't care what anybody says. When you're dealing with mixed martial artists, it's, you never know what you're going to get, correct?
You got to mind your P's and Q's, Peter. Mind your P's and Q's. That's for sure.
I absolutely love it. All right. Now, next week, Long Island, UFC Long Island, I believe. Is there a number on that? 277, I'm assuming? Or?
So it is not a numbered event, but it's UFC Long Island. Long Island is so fantastic that they just call it UFC Long Island.
Exactly. Over in Belmont?
Yep, the USB Arena.
The UBS Arena, that's correct, yep. Why don't we talk a little bit about that card and what people can expect?
Yeah, so what you guys at home can expect is tickets are now available. SeatGeek, Ticketmaster. You can still go over there in Belmont, make the trip over to Long Island if you're so keen.
Exactly.
It's headlined by Yair Rodriguez and Brian Ortega, who are arguably in title contention. The winner of this fight, if they go out and give a statement, if they go out and prove their worth to the company, they could be fighting for a title before the end of this year.
Wow, is that true?
Yes.
Oh, my goodness. So that is, why wouldn't you want to go to Long Island? And is this their first time in Belmont? Or?
So I believe it's the first time in Belmont, and it's the first time in New York for about a year, the first time outside of MSG in a long time, as you know.
I remember that, yeah.
And the most exciting part for me, as someone who went to school in upstate New York, a bit of a New Yorker at heart, even though I'm a New Englander, is there's tons of New Yorkers on this card. Billy Quarantillo, who is a huge Bills fan. I don't know if I can say that in this program here.
I was going to say.
Big Bills fan. He's going to be on the card. Shane Burgos, who is a native New Yorker. He actually trains out of one of the local gyms here in Manhattan. So he's going to be great to see. And then a man from Brooklyn, Phil Rowe, is actually going to be a card as well. So a lot of local flair there. So if you're just going to go and support the guys, there's plenty of young New York and Long Island talent there to support.
And Cody, do you believe that the UFC does that purposely by trying to put local people to try to? And UFC doesn't really have issues with putting butts in the seats, as like they say, but it's always an added incentive in a way to get people that are local fighting.
Yeah, and that's a good point, Peter, because the headliners on the card, Yair Rodriguez and Brian Ortega, are both Spanish-American fighters, from the West Coast. So you're not getting a lot of headline value there, but that's why, you get guys like a Shane Burgos who has huge local followings. They can bring in 30, 40, 50. They'll pack a whole section just full of people that are fans of these guys. So you're right. They very much do kind of bring that energy of the local flair, especially now that we're able to finally go out on the road again. It used to just be pay-per-views. You'd go to Vegas. You'd go back to the local Apex Center where they do events at like a conference room.
Correct.
But now we're finally able to see kind of the growth of this sport after the pandemic as we're able to now go out on the road and see these fans.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Is there any other fights on the card that you like for next weekend?
So I'm just really keen to see that Ortega versus Rodriguez fight. And for me, it moves further than just the fight at hand because there's a lot at play in this UFC featherweight division where there's a lot of movement kind of going around. A lot of people talking about going up. A lot of people talking about going down.
Right.
I think that both these fighters could go out there and make a statement, and it's on ABC for free. So huge stakes here. As far as the viewership, we might be looking at, a couple of million people watching this simply because it's on ABC. So I think it's a huge opportunity for these guys to go out and stake their claim in the division.
Well, that's absolutely fantastic. And, folks, you can come right here to the Pilsener Haus Biergarten and watch the fight. They'll have it on a big screen. Cody was talking to one of the management staff here, and he basically has a big screen that comes down right here in this beautiful beer garden that we're actually outside filming. We're normally upstairs in the Colo Club. And that is next Sunday, correct? The July 16th? Saturday, sorry. I don't even know what day of the month I'm in here. Next Saturday, and 8 p.m. start?
I believe it's a little earlier, but the main card, 8 p.m., ABC, that's where you're going to find it.
That's where you're going to find. All right, Cody, we do have some time here. Is there anything that MMA fans at home that are watching is there anything that they're looking forward to, let's just say? I mean, I know that we usually sometimes have a pro wrestling insider, Rob Donison here. And, even though the WWE does like a pay-per-view every month, there's always these big pay-per-views like WrestleMania and SummerSlam and all of that. And UFC, same thing. What's the next one?
So I'm not going to talk about the next one. I'm going to bring it back because of the wrestling point you just made.
Wow, I love it.
Israel Adesanya walked out to the Undertaker's song last weekend.
Why wouldn't you?
It was an absolutely, I'm almost getting goosebumps now just talking about it. It was an absolutely legendary moment. And the McMahons and Triple H were sitting there front row.
With Logan Paul.
And Pat McAfee.
That's right.
So
that's what it was.
They were absolutely just excited to be in that environment. And I think you're going to see a lot of that crossover, especially as now the conversation is happening about possibly the company that owns the UFC Endeavor buying the WWE.
Wow.
Which would just make incredible. I might be breaking news here. I don't think
I was
anybody's
going to
really
say, this is breaking news on the Pulse here, folks, from the beer garden. That is amazing, especially with the trouble that McMahon's been having lately. So
yeah, and I think there's
Vince
a lot of synergy. As you said, it's different fans, but to become a fan of one from the other is something that happens all the time, and something that I think you're going to see. Israel Adesanya, like I said, for instance, walked out to the Undertaker's music. I'm sure a conversation happened behind the scenes where you might see Israel Adesanya on, a WWE event. And, I'm a little biased. I'm an MMA head. I'm a little deep in this game. But can you imagine the crowd pop if Conor McGregor's music played at a WWE event?
Oh, it'll be insane. It'll be insane. And it's more than just Brock Lesnar and Ronda Rousey, correct? So,
yeah.
Cody Merrow, thank you so much. I hope to see you on a future show.
Peter, I hope to see you in the gym. I mean, look at this guy's pipes, everyone.
Come on.
This
there you go. This is the Pulse,
himself.
Right? Exactly. No, but I love Chris, my trainer. He watches every week. So, Cody, thank you so much. Our MMA insider and executive producer of the Anik and Florian podcast. Make sure it's available where podcasts can be found, correct?
Wherever podcasts are potted.
There you go. I love that. Thanks again. Really appreciate it. All right, folks, join us next week for The Pulse on everything you need to know. I'm Peter Biancamano from the Pilsener Haus Biergarten located at 1422 Grand Street in Hoboken. We'll see you next week.